or MIC'er? That's the age-old question. MIC'er or My-ker? Just come aboard for a suggestion. Brent and Myra are here to help find that cure, to discuss this topic and help you keep your client secure.
All right, so you can hear by that wonderful lead-in music that we're here at the source to try to answer that age-old question. With me, I've got Myra Flynn from Source Technologies, that can see displayed proudly behind you there. And I think everybody, if anybody was watching this video, they probably saw the description, and they're dying to know the answer. And the answer to that question, that age-old question, MIC'er or My-ker? What's the answer?
Oh, that's a great place for us to start, Brent. You know, let's start with what My-ker stands for, right? It stands for Magnetic Ink Character Recognition. So it's going to depend on who you ask on what the response is going to be. Is it My-ker or is it MIC'er? You know, I've worked for two different micro manufacturers, and I can tell you internally, it's always a debate. But what I always like to say is all money. So however you pronounce it, it's the important thing is what it does. And so that's what I would like to talk about, is the importance of MICR and why we need it in today's environment.
Well, hey, I mean, I don't think that's the definitive answer a lot of us were looking for per se. I mean, I think we'd like to settle the MIC'er or My-ker debate, but we'll leave it at that. So, I mean, I guess the next question for you, being an expert in this field, would be like, why would you suggest to a reseller that they need to be involved in either selling the MIC'er themselves, or why would they even attempt to approach one of their end users, company, whatever it might be, with the proposition of purchasing MIC'er toner?
Yeah, so it's going to be more than just the toner, Brent, right? We need to talk about the whole solution. When we're talking about securing checks, it's a layered. We need to look at every aspect in that. There's not one foolproof, right? The reason why I think our partners need to talk about it is that it's not talked about enough, right? Even though that electronic payments are continuing to grow, checks are still widely used. You know, billions of checks are being issued annually from B2B businesses in the U.S. You know, they're doing vendor payments, insurance claims, refunds, loan disbursements, payroll, not so much. You're going to see payroll more in seasonal work, high turnover, or some states require that you pay somebody if they're terminated before they leave the building. You know, that means with all of these checks floating around, that means fraud is very real. You know, MICR toner ensures that when a check goes through the banking system, the MICR line is read accurately, consistently and compliant with the Federal Reserve standards. The MICR printer is going to further ensure that that toner is laid down onto that check stock within the ANSI specifications. But then that MICR printer is going to take it a step further. It's going to add additional functions specifically for check printing, like realigning the MICR line if it becomes misaligned within millimeters. But it's also has additional security features that are able to lay down at the time of print to increase the security, to prevent check washing, to prevent check cooking. So it's, again, you need to think about the security in the paper that's being used. You need to think about the quality of the toner, MICR toner that is being used. And you also want to make sure that the printer has been modified specifically for the unique MICR requirements by the Federal Reserve.
So the tech, what you're saying is it's a lot more advanced than Leonardo DiCaprio taking the the old model Pan Am decal and putting it on a sticker and making the false checks from like Catch Me If You Can and that movie that kind of highlighted as the check fraud back then.
In my career in MICR, that is the most referenced movie. Catch Me.
So it has to be, right?
Absolutely. The scary thing is, the scary thing is, if you're not using a secure solution, it is still that easy. All you need is poor adhesion and common household chemicals. And you can easily do what Leonardo did in Catch Me If You Can. So we need to make sure that we're talking to each one of our customers. And that's the beauty. There's one thing that you can guarantee across 100% of your clients, prospective and current, they're all paying bills. It's a critical business function. And so it's an opportunity to have a conversation with every company that you do business with currently.
So obviously it's important. There's a lot of fraud out there, whether it's in movies and stories. That Frank Abagnale, obviously that was a real person. I guess they expanded on that to make it, entertaining for Hollywood, but there was fraud like that. So, and there was federal agents that were following them. So I guess that kind of leads into like the next question. Is the use of MICR or MICR? We'll leave that debate where it's at. Is it required? Is that something that's required by law?
Absolutely. It is mandated by the Federal Reserve that all original checks have the MICR line. And when we're talking about the MICR line, we're talking about the account number, the routing number, and the check number that's in that funky font at the bottom of the check. Federal Reserve requires that line be printed with MICR toner. So there's a lot of confusion out there about the MICR requirements. And that all started with the enactment of Secure 21. So that legislation went into effect in 2008. And that is what allows for optical capture, right? So that's how you and I are able to deposit checks through our banking app. The Federal Reserve never meant for OCR capture, Secure 21, to replace MICR. They saw it as cohabitating, both technologies cohabitating. And OCR was allowed so that banks could speed up the process of depositing that check between the receiving bank and the bank that the check is being withdrawn from. Next time you go to do a remote deposit through your bank app, read the T's and C's. It's going to tell you that you have to retain that check for 7 to 10 business days after deposit. And that's because if there's any question on the validity of that check, they're going to ask you to present the original document to your local bank branch. And if that MICR line is not printed with MICR toner, it's going to be rejected. So it is absolutely mandated. I get asked this question a lot. So I have a link to the Federal Reserve that I like to share that backs up that statement.
Well, yeah, and I think that you bring up a good point there with like the Federal Reserve, and I'll share on the screen in this video a couple of just one post that was shared by the U.S. Department of Treasury. They released a press release. This is just the time of this recording in August of 2025. This was just over a year ago, February 28th of last year. Them announcing, the Treasury announcing the enhanced fraud detection process using AI that's recovered $375 million in the fiscal year of 2023. And I'll have a link to this page in the YouTube description here. And then the second one, I'll put up on the screen here, and that is from the FBI and the USPIS, where they make a public service announcement here that it was just the beginning of 2025, January 27th, in which they reference mail theft-related check fraud. It was on the rise, and this report significantly talks about several of these incidents with fraud, but the check fraud having doubled from 2023 to 2020 or 2021, excuse me, to 2023, which is amazing, because I think of so much stuff that's happening still, like electronically, with cash advances or cash sharing or whatever, the cash exchange, and yet the FBI themselves claiming things have doubled. Do you think that has to do with like maybe people working from home or remote, and some of the things that maybe happened in the wake of the pandemic?
I think so. What I have heard is, criminals, low-level criminals have caught on to how easy it is. I've heard that the key to the big blue USPS box is in circulation, and that there are a plethora of low security checks in circulation, and so they're capitalizing on it, right? I've sold MICR for over a decade now, and I would say the first 7 years, 8 years, nobody talked about the fraud that they have experienced. It was mum's the word, our dirty little secret. And in the last 2 years, it is so prevalent that everybody has to talk about it now. And so I have heard so many stories about, our partners, customers experiencing fraud, but it's more than just that. I would say 6, 7 different partners last year alone that I had conversations with who themselves were victims of check fraud. I had a dealer in Pennsylvania who had a storage unit customer that the storage unit facility was broken into, their checks were stolen, and the FBI came in and investigated it, and they said you need a secure MICR solution to help prevent this type of fraud. Sometimes fraud is as easy as just getting your hands on the check stock with that MICR line on it. It's that easy. We can start writing checks.
We need to get that FBI agent on tape.
I know.
Tell us that.
I wish I knew
what
his
a sales
name.
tool. What a sales tool. So I know this is the first of a series of episodes we're going to have on print security, and so I'll just wrap up this one with just the basic question, like where would someone start when it comes to the selling of MICR or microtoner security?
It's a simple question. Just make sure your customer is printing with a MICR solution, not just a standard office printer with a MICR cartridge, and make sure that they're not using that pre-printed check stock. Check stock that comes from the vendor with the MICR line pre-printed on it. And if you have any customers that are printing in that, with the OEM printer or that pre-printed, where your source is.
That's a great example. And I think I'm going to wrap it up with sharing this one last little clip. This is I'm actually outside Charlotte, North Carolina, and this happened in May. So we're in August, May 25th, where there was a check fraud incident that occurred just 28 miles from my home in Statesville, North Carolina, and this is how it was reported on the local television.
New at 5:30, an industrial company says they're out more than $100,000 from a scheme involving fake payroll checks.
3 men are now charged with cashing those checks at multiple stores.
You think the system's fairly safe and there's checks and balances to catch this, and it was happening right under our nose.
Channel 9's Dave Faraday talked with a store employee and also with the company that's out of all the money.
Yeah, he learned deputies are looking for more suspects now.
Well, we've been checking, and deputies believe there were as many as 5 people involved.
So I have a link to that video in the actual YouTube video here, so you can access that on your own if you want to see it again, or you want to share it with a potential client. These cases are everywhere. And it didn't take me long to find 2 or 3 news videos like that of incidents that happened just within the last year or two. So it's prevalent, unfortunately. People are trying to to swindle us left or right with phishing or whatever tools. This just falls right in line with that. And that's the bad news. The good news being there's solutions from that. Source Technologies is a provider of both the toner, the hardware, everything you need to get started in securing your customers' check business. And we're going to get into that in a future video. We're going to do more episodes moving forward, and we'll dive into that in some detail. But before we do, you just want to give a quick little elevator pitch on Source Tech and all that you can offer.
Almost 40 years of secure MICR solutions. We know it well. We have worked with the biggest banks in the U.S. as well as some of the largest retail customers, companies in the U.S. as well. So our solution is tried, true. We're experts at it. And like Brent mentioned, from the software to the hardware to the consumables, Source Technologies is able to help you secure your customers.
And of course, Arlington, we consider ourselves your best source of distribution to resellers that are looking for MIC'er or MICR, print solutions, and Source Tech being one of our cherished vendors in that category. So, Myra, thanks again for helping that age-old debate of MIC'er versus MICR. I don't know if we settled it.
We didn't.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. That's the key. It's whatever it's going to be. People can fight all they want over it, tomato. But at the end of the day, there's an opportunity and a resource and a tool that's out there to prevent fraud. And I'm so glad you're able to help and share that with some resellers and end users that are finding this video. We hope they found it useful. If they do, please subscribe to this channel. We're going to have more videos like this one that we're looking forward to sharing to the dealer and reseller community that's out there, as well as even consumers that can see the need for security and avoiding falling into the traps and prey of those people out there that are looking to find a shortcut, and take advantage of us hardworking peeps. So thanks again, Myra.
Always a pleasure,
Brent. Always look forward to it. Look forward to the next time. Thank you all.